All right, it is football time in college football, and I like using that. It's football time in because it's coming from the voice of the Vols, John Ward, and that's the legendary thing he used to say before every game. It's football time in Tennessee, and us being Tennessee fans, that really feels home when you hear that every time the games start up. And it's football time in college right now because the first week of college has come, and boy, was it an interesting weekend.
Definitely was actually.
Absolutely.
So the joke is right now is the AP Top 25 that they published back September 4th, and I gotta say, were they wrong?
Now I will say that it is week one rankings. Like for just in general, college football, you shouldn't really care about week one rankings that much. But like at least for me, it's important for one reason, and that's that this we're recording this the night of what the Clemson game, the Clemson and Duke game,
Yeah,
right?
it just finished
It
up. We
just ended,
just we just
and
watched the end.
Clemson being ranked ninth and Tennessee ranked 12th is ludicrous to me due to the fact that we pretty much have the same roster as last year beating them in the Orange Bowl. And Clemson being ranked is not the issue. It's that them being ranked higher than Tennessee is like kind of odd. Like I don't understand that. And to watch them play Duke and pretty much get shut out is phenomenal to me. But not to take anything away from Duke or anything. Like Duke played an amazing game defensively. That was great defensively.
And their
It's just I
quarterback.
feel like they and their quarterback kind of carried
Mm,
too, but I feel like they
absolutely.
capitalized on the mistakes Clemson made and just executed it perfectly. Now, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Duke, but I actually kind of feel like Clemson beat themselves this game, if I'm being honest. Like Clemson, I'm not saying Clemson is totally bad as a football program because they're not, but Clemson definitely lost the game themselves, but Duke did an outstanding job shutting them out defensively and capitalizing on the mistakes that Clemson made as well.
So
So I feel like
so before we get too far into the games itself, I want to just kind of go over what the AP Top 25, where they had everybody at, and now there is two polls that I watch every single year: AP Top 25 and the coaches poll. Coaches, I feel like they're a little bit more in tune where everybody is. Each coach get a vote, and they tally them up and then put the rankings where they're at. Now I feel like they're a little bit more in tune where the teams are should be at, and I tend to sometimes agree with their polls a little bit more than the AP, but they're pretty similar, both of them. Uh, but so let's go with the rankings here. So they had, of course, Georgia number one. Of course they're gonna be number one. They just won the championship. I think you have to put them number one no matter what.
Twice in a row.
Yeah, you put them up there, whether they're going to be good or bad this year. They won a championship. They deserve number one spot. I mean, it's not it's not something to think about. All right, here's where I start to have a little bit of trouble. Number two, Michigan. Now you put Michigan up there, right? But where do you have TCU at?
17th.
Okay, 17th. You put TCU at 17th, but Michigan at two. Before the teams even come out and play a down of plays this weekend, why is the team that went to the championship at 17, but a team that didn't even make it to the championship number two? And same with Ohio State number three. Now, I know some of y'all are going to say, well, TCU had no business being in the championship. I couldn't agree any
Well, I mean
more with
that
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Mm,
everyone to be
that's not the
honest.
point.
absolutely.
The
That
point
game was boring during the championship.
the point being, if you're going to have Georgia number one because they won the championship, you need to put TCU up there at least in the top 10 if you're going to say they deserve or they was in the spot to claim, you know, a fight for the championship. So I was a little confused with that. Now,
I find it interesting that they put TCU as both 16 and 17 spot on both the AP poll and the coaches poll,
So
which
they
is
were
interesting
pretty
to me.
similar there. But why
Yeah.
so far down when you have Michigan at number two? I don't understand that.
And
So
see, this
In
is
both
the
polls.
well.
Of
Here's
course.
the thing, and another thing, and then, all of us here are aware that these polls, a majority of them go off talent. Like all of us here knows that. We're just saying that it somewhat logically makes sense to have TCU up at the top due to the fact that they went to the championship, kind of like how the NFL does. Like if you win the Super Bowl, you're gonna be number one starting the next season. But then
and you're gonna have
if
the
you're
last pick in
and
the
then the
draft.
last, yeah, the person who lost the Super Bowl would be like number two or something like that, whatever the case may be. But we're just saying it logically makes sense to do that. But they do that based off the talent of players they lose and lost. And TCU lost like what 10 of their starters after last season.
Oh,
So I see
absolutely.
why they put them 17th. But I think after that loss against Colorado, they're projected to lose 15 spots in the rankings. They won't even be ranked after
Oh
next
no,
week.
and don't
No.
get me wrong. Do I believe TCU's a top 10 team or even a top 25? No. What I'm saying before this weekend took place, you couldn't logically say that they didn't deserve to be able to hire a spot if you're going off of just what happened last year. Because this ranking, none of this makes sense.
No.
Minus Georgia being number one. After that, none of it makes sense. I mean, am I wrong?
Not at all. And why put Alabama in the top 5 as well? I mean,
Well, I
yes, they
mean,
made it to the playoffs and stuff like that.
Well, they
But
shouldn't have made it to the
number 3
playoffs
and
either.
yeah,
it's
Alabama only got in due to the fact that Tennessee lost to South Carolina. Alabama was not going to make it in and if we beat South Carolina. Alabama wouldn't have even made it to the playoffs last year. But since South Carolina absolutely manhandled Tennessee last year,
mm,
Alabama pretty much
wasn't.
got a free ride in.
But as most of y'all, if y'all haven't looked at the rankings so far, you can pretty much blindly guess. It's Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama. That's the top four in both the AP and coaches poll, which that's been the top four in the first rankings like what 2 or 3 years now. It's not changed. I mean, say what you want, but I just don't know if I agree where this is going to end up this way at the end of the year. I think there's going to be some major changes. And after what we've seen this weekend, this poll is complete garbage. A lot of things are definitely going to change.
Absolutely.
So
LSU has dropped like
LSU number
And
five,
of course, the
both
new polls
AP,
exponentially
hasn't come out yet. They probably won't come out to like what Tuesday,
maybe
September
Wednesday.
5th, or
thereabouts.
maybe Wednesday,
Yeah, because they'll have to
since the
deliberate on it
games kind of
tomorrow.
rolled off kind of weak. Yeah, or they've kind of were strung out all week.
So
LSU has dropped. Clemson has dropped. TCU has dropped.
yeah, so we
Um,
got LSU at five, both AP and coaches. USC 6 on both. Penn State 7 on both. Florida State 8. Clemson 9.
Huh.
And here's where it starts getting different. Washington on the AP's 10, but Tennessee's 10 on the coaches. But this is where we had the problem with Clemson being so high. Clemson lost badly to Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. I mean, it wasn't even a challenge.
absolutely.
And you put Clemson based because if we go back to Jaden's argument, you base it on the talent, right? You base it on how many players you lose and who you got returning. Tennessee's playing with the same team.
And strength of schedule,
Yeah,
of course.
same schedule basically as we did had last year. Probably about the same. Uh, and yet we have the same players we played Clemson in. No one left that played, and yet we are below Clemson.
Unless the AP polls don't take bowl games into consideration as rankings, which ah, I
I
kind
don't
of,
know why that's
and
a
that's a
possibility.
different debate. That's a different debate because I know some people's like, well, it's not actually kind of a regular season game. Like I get that, I understand it, but that's still like Tennessee in the regular season went 10-2, but in all we went 11-2 due to the fact that we won the bowl game.
Yeah,
So
Right.
I kind of feel like
And
it
you're
should
still seeing
account for
talent versus
something.
talent.
yeah, it's
Either
talent
way.
versus
Clemson pretty
talent.
much has the same roster as Tennessee had the same roster. If they wanted to put Clemson up in the top 10, dude, that's fine. Maybe then swap. Maybe put us one spot higher. Maybe put us ninth and Clemson 10th and Washington 11th and Texas 12th or something like that. Like you can like I don't. I'm not Clemson being right behind us, dude. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, that would have been fine. But okay, makes sense.
But
Whatever. But for them to be that much, especially AP being
three
that far,
spots,
that makes no
three
sense.
under Florida
Three
State,
spots.
under Florida State, and for the people who saw the Florida State and LSU game, it was close going into the half, and then right after the half,
Yeah, it
after the
got
first
carried
half,
away.
Florida State just
Yeah.
took off with the rock and just pounded
21
in the end
points in
zone.
fourth. 21 points.
So that's where it gets a little funky on both polls. So 10, 11, 12, and 10, 11, 12 on both polls are different. Same teams, but in different spots. AP's got Washington at 10, Texas 11, Tennessee at 12. The coaches has Tennessee 10, Washington 11, and Texas 12. So they flipped them around a little bit, and then we start getting back to about the same. We go Utah at 14, Oregon at 15, Kansas State at 16, but this is where they put TCU and Kansas State different. They flip them uh, with 16 and 17 on both, and then we get back to the same. Oregon State at 18, Wisconsin is 19, but on the coaches, Oklahoma's 19, and then Oklahoma's 20th on the AP, and then you got North Carolina at 20. So this is where we start getting a little bit different. Some of the same teams are still sticking in, but you get down to the AP, North Carolina, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tulane, and Iowa to finish it out. Coaches, it's North Carolina, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Tulane, Texas Tech, and Texas A&M, bringing up the 25th spot in the coaches poll. So after this weekend, man, this poll couldn't have been even further than truth. Some of these teams didn't deserve to be in the top 10. Some of them didn't deserve to be in the top 25. Some of them shouldn't even play
Yeah.
the game. So,
Absolutely.
where do we want to start with
I think we should go back to this blowout that we've just seen.
the one we just watched
This
tonight?
this absolute 28-7 blowout.
Yeah, this tonight, Duke versus Clemson. Clemson, like I said, ranked number 9 on both polls, coming in, have the same team they did last year versus a Duke that went last year 9 and I mean
9-4, I
not
believe.
maybe. I mean they've always been an okay team. They've never been a great team. So you don't expect Duke to win this.
And
But
how much was Clemson favored, like by points? I don't remember. I don't remember seeing
usually
a
you can
projected like how many points Clemson was
usually
supposed to win
before the
by.
game you can check, but I think after the game's over it's not going to let me
Oh,
look now. I don't know if it's on here or not. They
but we all definitely know that Clemson was favored in this game.
Okay, so Clemson was favored by 12.5 points. So they were
Okay,
supposed
so
to be.
people had a lot of money on Duke keeping up with them at least. You
Yeah,
know.
they were supposed to be in the game at least, but no one saw them putting a hurt on Clemson, and that's what this game was. I
No,
mean, yeah,
And
I agree with you.
very
Clemson
much.
did shoot themselves in the feet, but Duke's quarterback Leonard carried the team, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Riley Leonard was a star in that game.
So dude ran 44
Absolutely
yard
phenomenal talent.
touchdown.
Phenomenal talent.
I mean, we talked about it, during the game. Yeah, he played basketball, and you're going to have to be fast in basketball.
And
But
this
the
is
dude was
2
out running
years of
safety,
experience. He
stiff
only
arm
has
a safety to get that touchdown. I
2
mean,
years.
you said 2 year
Absolutely.
experience,
2 years of experience.
so the kid's still learning to be a quarterback.
He's fresh off the block. Absolutely.
And it says they snapped a 28 game losing streak. So, uh, to Clemson. So I guess it's they snapped a 28 game losing streak to Clemson. So that is crazy. Now the fans did
Absolutely.
rush the field, and we were kind of joking about that, because we, as Tennessee fans, we got so much crap last year for us rushing the field, but we beat Alabama. I
We have
mean,
not beaten Alabama since 2006. This was worth more to us than winning the national title, like at all. The reason why we rushed this field is not only because we haven't beat Alabama since 2006. It's been almost over 20 years since we've beat them, you know. But also, we also thought that we were going to a playoff, so like almost a title run this year
yeah.
until we played Georgia later on that season and got
Well, we knew that was
shamefully
coming
mollywopped.
anyways. I mean,
Yeah, and
Georgia
then we
was,
played
Yeah.
South Carolina thinking we were gonna mollywop them, and we got blew out.
yeah.
I mean, South Carolina put a record on Tennessee. That the people will not let that up
No,
for
they
the
won't.
rest
And
for the rest of life. That's a record that South
not
Carolina has
to
over us.
talk bad about South Carolina, but it wasn't all them. We had some problems going on with the team, in the locker room that was causing some issues on the field. I mean, there was this the team that played the game before was not the same team that showed up for South Carolina. There was no heart in it. There were some fights reported in the locker room that one of our top key defensive backs could not show up for the game. There was some heat between some of the players, so we had a funny feeling that something bad was going to happen. Did not expect it to be as
We
bad
did
as
not
it
expect
did.
what 68,
Yeah.
63 points.
Yeah.
So we definitely shot ourselves in the foot, and of course Hendon Hooker got
And
hurt that game. But let's move on from the bad emotions of last year, and let's just face.
well,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
one last thing before we move on. Let's just be clear. Yeah, they dropped like 63 or 68 on us, but we dropped 38 on them. That does not speak well to their defense. That's all I'm saying. They won. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
taking away anything away from it at all, but dropping 38 on you is not a good look, even if you dropped almost double the amount that we put on you. Like, whatever, good game, South Carolina. I'm not gonna bash them or whatever. It's just
Well, we got to talk about their game
I just
tonight,
know how it's gonna
anyways.
be.
So they're
Yeah,
so we can move on into South Carolina since we're already talking about South Carolina, anyways. So
let's do
we
it.
both, I think all three of us was watching that game, the North Carolina South Carolina game, the Dukes Mayo Classic, whatever they want to call it. I saw some guy bathing in mayo earlier
Mm.
that day.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
So
Strange tradition. Strange tradition.
number 21, North Carolina in the AP, 20 in the coaches poll, went up against no ranked South Carolina, and 31-17. North Carolina pulls it out. And
Let's.
I'm not going to say they pulled it out like it was a close game. It was a little one sided.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Absolutely.
also take into consideration the stats here. Like Drake May, North Carolina QB, he was 24 for 32, pretty good completion rate, 269 passing yards, two touchdowns, but he also had two interceptions. Now get this. Now I've been hearing a lot of talk about Spencer Rattler
Yeah,
recently. 30 for 39, pretty good.
pretty good.
Uh, 353 passing yards, but no passing touchdowns and no interceptions. And then we can go to rushing yards. We have what, British Brooks. Is that his actual name?
Mhm.
British Brooks. Interesting.
That's his name.
He had 15 carries for
Mm.
103 yards. And then that's his North Carolina. Sorry, not if no one knows who British Brooks is. Running back for North Carolina. And then we have what, Dacrion Joyner, 12 carries, 23 yards only, but a rushing touchdown.
That's 23 yards rushing. That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's crazy.
Within 12 carries. That's
Yeah.
12 carries. That's the entire game. Like, this is final stats. Joyner had 12 carries for only 23 yards and one touchdown. Now we go to receiving yards, and we go to Kobe Pacehour. Pacehour or Paceor? I'm going to say Pacehour. 7 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, all right, That's about 10 yards a gain, a reception,
Yeah.
fairly, nearly about. Xavier Leggetti. I'm sorry if I'm messing these last names up, bro. 9 receptions with 178. So they beat them more on the reception yards, but they could not get anything turning on the offense. in
No,
terms
the
of
North
reception
Carolina
yards.
defense showed up, and it was it was like they they were playing a different game. I mean, it really was. North Carolina was projected to win the game, but not by as much as they were only projected by 2.5
I
points.
mean, North Carolina's time of possession was 32 minutes compared to South Carolina's 26.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and that's with Tar Heels messing up. If you, I mean, they turned over the ball twice, but they had one more first down than they did. Their total yards was 437. I think at one time Gamecocks was negative yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had
Mm.
-2 rushing yards.
Yeah, uh, that was not good. They started
Now,
to
now let's be
play a
clear. I
little
mean,
bit.
it was pretty even within the first half of the game. I mean, 7-7 in the first quarter and 10-7 in the second quarter. You know, that's pretty even game. But you know, you get to the second half, and you've got 14 points dropped on you in the third quarter, right after halftime, and then you've only got three on the opposing team. So you know, it's like they went back there during the halftime and just boosted. You know, it's hard to get a gain of what could have happened back there
Yeah, South Carolina didn't
for a
And
show up
that
team
in the
like
second
this.
half.
A team that's
and that
15
happened.
points away, 15 positions away, remind you, on the poll to come back and beat you.
No,
You know,
And the thing is, this has happened all during week 1. Look at the Colorado and TCU game, evenly matched till the first half. Well, not evenly matched. Let's take a look at it. I could be remembering that wrong. Well, no, it was evenly matched. I'm not gonna say it's not. That's not what I meant to say. But um, I'm thinking about how it happened. Where did they go into the half? Because it was 45-42. Oh yeah, going into the half, it was 14 to 10. TC was leading. That was pretty projected. You know, that was a lot of predictions were saying that it was going to be around that score going into the half, and then Colorado just tuned it up, 14-14 in third and the fourth quarter. Of course, TCU hanging in there, hanging in there.
absolutely,
So
very close
a
game.
lot of these teams, FSU and LSU, same thing, same ordeal. After halftime, these
Mm.
teams have started turning it up. They've
yeah.
started turning it up after
It's a
halftime.
very common trend. Yeah,
Well, I
very
mean,
common.
you get it. I mean, you're out. You do practice. You have your off season, but you never play another team, and you don't really have that full adrenaline of the crowd, behind you and pumping you up. So you're going to have some rust. You're going to have some rust, coming into the gate. And you're going to be a little sloppy right off the bat. And then the second half, you got your mindset, and you heard your coach, talk you up for the second half, and you'll come out, and then you're going to really show what's up. But I mean, some of these games kind of shock some people. I mean, let's talk about Colorado for a
Absolutely.
second. I mean, it's big right now. That's everybody can stop
Everyone is
talking about
talking about it.
Deion Sanders
Mm.
coming to a one in
Mm-hmm.
10 team
Last year,
last year and
Last
putting
year.
okay,
45 to 42.
45 on a championship contender team supposedly from last season,
Yeah, that
even
Mm.
though it wasn't even close in the championship.
yeah, but that was crazy. I mean, by
I
far.
will say this. I will say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, Dustin. I know he's getting ready to say something, but um, I will say that everyone, at least for me, I expected that you can't have a coach like Deion Sanders come into Colorado and their defense be bad. This is Deion Sanders, people. This is prime time Sanders, buddy. Like I expected Colorado's defense to be like worth something, but their offense really surprised me. Uh, I mean that's crazy. I mean that's insane.
I mean,
45
Mm.
points.
he's got his boy playing
Absolutely.
quarterback. I mean, so the
Yeah,
the kids
yeah, his
the
son,
kids
which come from Jack State, believably.
Yes, I mean he had 38 for 47. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. 510 yards, 4 touchdowns.
510 yards.
Yeah, so that's ridiculous. I mean that is
That's
straight up
amazing. Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean he put on a show. I mean, and if you ask
It was
Deion
like
Sanders,
clockwork.
he's out there saying, "Well, we knew this was going to happen." But the rest of
I
the
don't know
country
if he.
didn't think that. They were all saying that this was going to be a joke, that this was just publicity stunt. And he comes in and he puts the numbers up on the board.
And
I
he
mean,
sort of proves that Deion Sanders was right. But the thing is can he keep that consistent? Now let's look at Colorado's schedule. Now I don't have everything, memorized down or everything about it, but I mean their schedule. Let's just take a look at it. Like they play TCU for the opener and just absolutely banger of a game for week 1. I
yeah,
mean,
crazy game.
dude, nobody was tuning into this game. Like seriously, like I heard people was like, all right, Tennessee and Virginia's on. Let's see what's going. Wait a second, Colorado and TCU's this, and they would skip that game, and go watch Colorado and TCU. Rightfully so. I mean, Tennessee's playing against Virginia, and we won't skip Tennessee's game on this talk either. We'll briefly talk about that because there's some things we want to talk
There are
about.
some
Because
things.
I don't
Yeah.
want to. We don't want to sound biased, like we're just never going to talk about our own team or anything.
Yeah,
There's something.
There are some problems.
All three of us in here definitely have our big quarrels about what we saw. Now,
Absolutely.
a lot of people are like, "Well, you won, so
Mm.
why are you complaining?" Well, we're complaining because we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We won't get
We'll
to that
get
now
there,
because we're talking
yeah.
about Colorado. But yeah, looking at Colorado's schedule, I mean, open up with TCU, absolute banger of a game, 45-42. We could look at the stats in a second. But then they go on to play Nebraska. Now, if anyone knows anything about Nebraska football program, they've had it rough the last couple of years. Like, they just can't finish games or win games they're really supposed to at all. And Nebraska is this, they're in a tough spot, but I could see Colorado beating Nebraska after what they did to TCU. At least Colorado State. I mean, yeah, I see them beat. I don't see the Colorado beating Oregon though. That's just me.
I don't either.
Oregon will be a tough game. It'll be a tough game. For
Yeah,
them.
I don't see Colorado beating Oregon. I think Oregon may win about 2 scores or 3. To be honest, because Colorado's defense is pretty solid. I'm not gonna say it's not.
Oregon's
It's pretty
predicted
solid.
to beat them. I mean, they're predicted 93.5% of winning that game.
Mm.
Yeah, and then
So-
moving on
Mm.
after one hard game to a next USC, and USC's kind of been a talk around the country too. Caleb Williams or whatever, he's been talked about a lot recently.
Mhm.
I don't think they win against USC. They beat Arizona State, I believe. Stanford, that could be a good game. But Colorado may come out on top. UCLA, I don't know. I haven't really seen UCLA play, so I can't say much
Well,
about that
UCLA
game.
just won their first game versus Coastal Carolina.
Carolina.
I mean, it's a small
Yeah.
school. I mean, it's not that big of a win, but it was 27-13. I think definitely Colorado has a big chance to win that game.
It has a yeah. I could.
But-
then they might have an edge,
But I
and then
will say they're the underdog going into every single one of these games.
100%. I mean, look at even Oregon State. I mean, Oregon State's 18th right now. I don't know where they'll be in the next ranking that's coming out for week 2. But I don't think they beat Oregon State, and I'm trying not to let this fancy number next to these teams' names make me, pick a winner, because we just saw that. We just saw that Duke beat a top 10 team, Clemson. So, like this fancy number next to people's names don't really mean anything, because this is college football. Anything can happen. But just from what all this talk about Oregon State that I've heard here recently and stuff like that, I think Colorado may have a hard time with them. Arizona, I think they kind of wiped the floor with Arizona, to be honest.
Okay, Arizona's predicted 57%. Now this can change also. I mean, through the years, but I will say
Because this is November 11th. This is like their 8th game
if they
or
beat,
something.
Okay, so Nebraska just played Arizona, and Arizona won that game.
10th
so if
game,
they
sorry.
beat Nebraska pretty single-handedly, I think they got a pretty good shot at Arizona no matter what. So
Now
I
they
think-
will be playing Mississippi
they-
State
they'll-
next,
they'll
so
be-
we should see from that as well.
Who?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona
Oh,
will be
okay,
playing
okay.
Mississippi State.
And then we have Washington State for Colorado. I think Colorado has that in the bag. Now, Utah. Now, this does bring me in, and we don't have to segue because we'll keep talking about it, but I know it's Utah, and a lot of people's like, whatever. I've changed my mind about Utah. They look quick. They look fast. I know Florida's not really the talk of the town this season that much, like they
haven't
have been in the
couple of
past.
years.
But Utah, I actually think is not a team to be. Do I think they'll go to some title or maybe even go to the playoffs? I'm not sure. I don't know, but I don't think Utah is a pushover team. They're ranked 14th for a reason. They pretty much slammed Florida. I mean, there could be debates about that, but Utah, they just played the better game, and I think Utah is not a team to be messed with. I've changed my mind. I was like, dude, Florida lost to Utah, but then I changed my mind. I was like, I don't know. Utah actually kind of looks
Now let's put this into
devious.
perspective. They lost to Florida last year, 29-26.
Of
So,
course, that's a good game, but
um,
then Utah comes out this season and pretty much, you know, puts the work on them.
Well, we have
So,
to. Florida's got some issues down there. I mean, I know
I mean,
Napier's
Bill
dealing.
Napier's been given a weak hand,
He
and
really has, but they've got some issues they really need to address. I mean,
they're
they're kind
running
of they're
terrible offense plays.
if they're not careful, they're going to start turning out to be the Vandy of SEC. And it's not because they're going to lose every single game. It's because they're kind of a laughing stock right now. It's the team that were powerhouses. I mean, they just made an HBO special called Swamp Kings about Tim Tebow's years down there, and they've been kind of joked on it. This past couple of years, they've got some issues down there that they need to address. They need to turn around, and if they don't, they'll be the next Vandy.
And that can't get any worse than that because we know Vanderbilt's the worst team
yeah,
in the SEC. I mean, if you're losing
yeah,
to a
Vanderbilt
team,
is
and I know a lot of you may not even know what this college is, but ETSU, okay, ETSU is a local college down where we're at in Tennessee.
East Tennessee State University.
It's literally
For those who
like
don't know.
15 minutes from like me and Cody's house.
It's pretty
It's
close,
like
about 20 from me.
it's
So
yeah, like
This is
it's
a
not
college that
far.
I
It's
go
just a
to,
local
by the way.
college. It's like a local college. It's not big by any means. It's
It
good
is a
for
state university, but still.
Yeah. And no one knows who this is. And ETSU beating Vanderbilt, that's sad. A Division I team. Vanderbilt is a Division I team, by the way. It is
Yeah.
Division I. They are in the SEC conference, and they
They're
lost
putting
to
a
a
lot of money in
local
there, dude.
nobody team.
They're putting
And
a
let's
lot
put
of
this in
money
perspective.
in their new
ETSU
stadium.
just reinstated their football team after many years.
Yeah, Phil
So,
Fulmer went
this-
down
they're-
there.
they're
and
still-
put a football schedule together for him and everything. Got him back on track. And not too long after, they come and beat Vandy, which, oh, it's Vandy. I mean,
And
it is interesting.
I've talked about it with Dustin and Cody here that if you go back about 10ish so years, a decade like 2010, 2012, you look at teams like Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mizzou, Tennessee, South Carolina, all these teams were on par with each other. And a lot of people made debate was like, "Oh, what are you talking?" No, I'm serious. Like Tennessee every time they went up against Georgia, it was either we got obliterated or it was a close game. Tennessee or Georgia win. Same thing with Vanderbilt. Same thing with South Carolina. Same thing with the Florida game. All of these teams back in the day were like somehow evenly matched. And now the power dynamic has shifted so much in the last 10 years that Georgia's now on top. Alabama's been running the game for the past 20 years, like always. Florida's now not really in the power dynamic. Tennessee is now in the power dynamic a little bit. I mean, we were what? No, we were number one in the nation for like a
one
week.
game. One
Yeah.
game. It
Yeah.
was right before the Georgia
So-
game, and that really hurt us.
But like, the tides have changed, and for me, I'm bad at like projecting ranks or whatever because I don't want to say one game's gonna be a blowout and it's not because people are wrong. Oftentimes people are gonna be wrong. That's just the way it is. But for me, college football is like anything can happen. Like, I don't want to say, oh yeah, they'll wipe the floor with this team because sometimes it doesn't happen. I actually thought TCU was gonna go into the Colorado game and let them have it.
Yeah.
I didn't think Colorado was going to do what they did, and I was massively wrong. I'm not even pissed off. I'm not even mad about it either. I was like, wow, Colorado, you proved me wrong, and good job. Good job, Deion Sanders, with the team you've built.
I mean,
But I
TCU
will
had
say,
everybody
Yeah.
had TCU's back in this game. I mean, all these
Yeah.
sportscasters, everybody said that
Vegas.
Colorado was not going to do it. Vegas had TCU's back. So they had the support going into this game.
and like I said,
Colorado upset.
yeah, and I'm not taking away from these teams like Duke or Colorado when I say these certain things because, like we saw with Duke tonight, they played amazing defense, and Riley Leonard played an amazing game, and Colorado played amazing. I'm just saying that TCU did not have the team that they had when they beat Michigan. They didn't have that team playing against Michigan last year. This is a totally different team almost playing against Colorado. So to say that, and they still put 42 on them, that's crazy. So TCU still deserves some respect for what they got. They're definitely not a top 25 team, unfortunately. But
and this will probably
they're definitely not
drop
bad.
them out. This will probably
Yeah, they
knock
won't be
them out
ranked
top
after this
25.
week.
Yeah, they won't.
No,
be.
they have a chance to work their way back up. Will they? I don't know.
No.
They've got
It depends.
an okay schedule. I mean, it ain't great, but it's not. I think they've got some challenges up ahead, especially with Kansas State later in the year, and Texas will definitely put a hurting on them,
Absolutely.
and then Oklahoma. Two
I
teams
mean,
that are getting ready to join the SEC are going to put some major hurting on them at the end of the year. They're looking to prove something coming into this conference.
going back to Colorado's stats a little bit, like 510 yards, passing yards. That's insane from Shadur Sanders.
Oh, absolutely.
38 and 47. That's like a 90%. That's almost like a 90% pass completion. Like it's pretty close, 90, 80 something percent, maybe. 4 touchdowns. That is like NCAA 14 Dynasty or Madden franchise record, like stats right there. Like that's crazy.
I mean, he put a
And
hurt.
everyone just played phenomenally.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. It was worth watching. If you like
Yeah,
watching recaps or watching the game over, I suggest going back and watching that game. Phenomenal game.
Absolutely.
Definitely worth.
Dylan Edwards
definitely
also
recap.
putting 3 touchdowns on the board as well for 135 yards.
I mean,
I mean
they're
that's
going to talk
crazy.
about this for weeks. Well, especially if he
Absolutely.
continues to like Deion Sanders continues to show results up there, they're going to be continue talking about Colorado up there. So let's take it to I think was supposedly supposed to be one of the biggest games of the week. Number 5 LSU versus number 8 Florida State.
Mm.
Supposed to have been a close matchup.
The Seminoles.
Supposed to have been a real close matchup. It's a Camping World kickoff. You would have thought that the scores would have been a little bit more closer together than what they were.
Ranked 5 LSU, by the way, top 5 team.
Yeah, team
Top
that
5 team.
the team that we marched into the swamp last year and put a hurt on.
You mean
Again.
Baton Rouge?
Do what?
You said the swamp, and I was like,
I
you
mean,
mean
not
Baton
swamp,
Rouge?
Baton Rouge, yeah. Was it Death
Yeah.
Valley?
Yeah, that's Death
Yeah,
Valley,
sorry.
Baton Rouge.
not the swamp. My mistake. Retract that. Thinking about Florida still and the problems that they got down there. But Death Valley, we marched into Death Valley, put a hurt on them. They're ranked higher than us again. Can't figure this stuff out, but whatever. Florida State and LSU. 45 to 24, Florida State puts a hurting on them.
And again, 7-7 in the first quarter,
Yeah.
and 10-7 LSU up before the half, and then coming out
Mhm.
third quarter, 10 a touchdown and a field goal from Florida State, and then fourth quarter coming in, LSU responds with a touchdown, and then boom, 21 just from Florida State, just
Yeah.
marching through them.
I mean, it's not like LSU didn't do
These
something
second
in the
half,
second
these
half,
No.
second half teams.
but they still did put 30
And-
points on the board.
And let's not, Jordan Travis, the Florida State quarterback, he had 4 touchdowns, but let's not take it away from Jaden Daniels either. Like, he still
Jaden
played pretty
Daniels, yeah.
good. He still played pretty decent.
Yeah, I believe he got a touchdown. Yeah.
He did get a touchdown, but he also threw 1 interception. Jordan Travis also had an interception,
He
but
did.
those passing touchdowns, man, is what makes Jordan Travis more deadly in this game. I mean, he was 23 for 31, Jordan Travis, and Jaden Daniels is 22 and 37. So they both had the same around yards, 340 range yards, with Jaden Daniels having 5 more yards of passing, but Jordan Travis with 3 more touchdowns, passing touchdowns than him.
And the rushing
then-
yards were pretty close too. I mean,
The rushing yards are pretty
Yeah,
close with the
yeah.
same, almost around the same amount of carries. With Jaden Daniels leading the rushing, by the way, 15 carries for him, 64 yards, which is pretty much to be expected with someone like Jaden Daniels. But moving on to Florida State's rushing, Trey Benson, 12 carries, 47 yards. So roughly the same with about 20-ish, 20, 18-ish, whatever yards the difference it may be between the yards and 3 with the carries, but no rushing touchdowns from them there. But
Either
now
one.
here's the dip. No, either one. No rushing yards. Excuse me, yards for either of them. My brain is moving faster than my mouth because I'm looking at the receiving yards right now. Then we have Brian Thomas Jr. for LSU wide wide receiver. He had 7 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, we can get behind that. But then we had Keon Coleman with only 9 receptions, 2 more than Brian Thomas, 122 yards less, about 20 yards to be exact, less than Brian Thomas, but 3 whole touchdowns. So, I mean,
yeah, it's
I mean,
pretty
looking at
equal both ways.
it's pretty equal, but the touchdowns here from Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman getting up in there, it just makes a big deal. And looking at the scoring summary, 40-yard pass from Jordan Travis to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Or
Mm.
no, sorry, Keon Coleman, 40-yard pass from Jordan Travis. For an absolute bomb of a touchdown, you know. That was 7 minutes in
And to
in
put this
first
in
quarter.
perspective, LSU was projected to win this by like a 66.4%. They were supposed to win against Florida State. It started changing when Florida State started scoring those points. They came out in the second half and the third, about 6 minutes 22 seconds left in the third, and the stats started dropping, and then all of a sudden they're in the, I think it's still in the third with 5 minutes left. We see the first time really that Florida State gets a swing to their favor with a 54% chance of winning. And then after LSU scores that last time, it was all downhill after that. It was a surefire win for Florida State. The betting odds was in their favor.
Like, despite what people are saying, like, the score does say that FSU came out and just took off with it. Like, there's no doubt about that. But looking at the stats, this game was almost evenly matched, guys.
Very evenly matched, yeah.
Like, they were averaging around 7 yards per play for both sides, roughly around the same rushing yards on both sides. FSU having the advantage of 135, and LSU only having 113. Passing yards was pretty much dead in the middle with 347 passing yards from LSU, 359 from FSU, and total yards 460 to 494. That's only 34-yard difference.
No,
Like, this game in terms of stats, evenly matched.
Very evenly matched. Most right here. 35 minutes FSU had the ball against.
Oh
24
yeah.
against LSU. That's the big difference.
The time of
right
possession
there.
is
And 2 turnovers for the LSU versus 1 turnover for Seminoles. There's your difference right there. That's where it's going to hurt.
Of course, a fumble.
And a
by
fumble's
LSU
lost,
as well.
yeah, and a fumble lost.
So
They punted it the same amount of times, had pretty much the same amount of plays, and the fourth down efficiency for LSU was just not good. They tried for fourth down conversion or 3 times, and 3 times over they did not even convert it.
So that begs you the question.
30% for third down efficiency too. So
that begs the question here.
No.
Does Florida State deserve an 8th spot, or do they deserve higher? Because LSU definitely don't deserve the 5th. I'm sorry.
See, this is the
I don't
problem I
think they should be
have.
there.
I don't want to take away from both teams because, they both had their time to shine in the game, and and FSU just they just did that more, at the last half. But the problem I have with these rankings and what I think people should be at is that it's week 1. It's like it's hard for me to sit here and say, oh yeah, Florida State should be number 5 or number 4 after this or something crazy like that. And I just don't know, because now it comes to think, is LSU as good as everyone had projected them to be at number 5, or is FSU, or is LSU actually a top 5 team, and Florida State is just better than them? If anything, Florida State should be in the number 5 spot. That's where I would put them if going into next week. They should be a top 5 team.
That
just in week 2.
Reserved, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they need to be flipped.
Just in week 2.
Yeah.
I think they need to be flipped. Yeah.
Just who we
because
got up there, I would agree with you. FSU needs to be up where LSU is. LSU needs to drop down where FSU is.
Well, the thing is I don't even think that LSU deserves to be 8th, because USC is 6th and Penn State 7. So if anything, LSU needs to be they need to take Clemson's spot, if anything, to be honest.
Makes
That Clemson needs to be dropped out. LSU needs to be dropped to 9th or 10th. Washington could take the 9th spot, but Florida State needs to go up to like fifth, and Penn State could stay seventh, or USC and Penn State can maybe flop depending on what's going on there. But yeah, I definitely do think Florida State should take at least fifth, and LSU needs to drop down to like 10th or ninth.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You
say
know,
Clemson. After what we saw tonight, they don't need to be in the top 25. I mean,
No,
they
they
played
shouldn't stay.
poorly.
and they were projected to go up 4 spots after week 1. Do you know
Yeah,
that? Or they
they
respect not maybe after
Hmm.
week 1, but eventually go up 4 spots.
they played poorly. They don't deserve to be in the top 25. I mean, you shouldn't see that. They shouldn't have been ranked where they were at anyways. There's no way they should stay in the top 10. Definitely not. Definitely not top 10. I don't think they should be in the top 25.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's going to be some people that may see this
I
or
think if they got their offense got together, I think they could probably work their way back in at the very low spot. But I mean, it's hard to tell at this point in time. It's a
it's too
lot of what
early.
we've seen tonight was way too unpolished for them to stay in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
things will start shaping up week
We won't.
2, week
Yeah,
3.
we will have 2 new people in the top 25 rankings because Clemson I don't think will be in it, and TCU definitely will not be in it.
Yeah,
We'll have at least 2 more entries in the top 25, whoever that may be.
I mean
You know,
if we're going down from let's see the bottom, which was Iowa, was in 25th spot. Who'd they even play? Do you mean what? Oh yeah, they played Utah State 24 to 14. They'll probably stay there. I mean,
I
it,
think
it
that's a
was
good spot for them.
a good spot.
we
Sure.
may have 3 new people depending on the rankings because after that game, I don't even think I'm sorry, Iowa shouldn't even been ranked to be honest. But
No, but I mean
um,
they won their game.
after that game, they may either stay or they may go to 26th, and someone else may take the 25th spot because I don't know.
I think
I mean,
I
they
think
won, so
Duke
they probably
will be
won't
climbing
move.
in. Duke has
Duke
definitely
for
earned a
sure.
spot.
If they're not climbing in the 25th, they're if they're not in the 25th, they're right under it. Like they're 26th, 27th. Because the last time I checked, Florida was like 33 or something, and I could be wrong, but Florida's like 33rd in the nation. I don't remember half of that. Colorado was like, I think around the 30s too. So I mean, they are pretty close. If Colorado don't get in, then I don't know.
I mean, okay, so we got Tulane in the 24th spot. They beat South Alabama 37 to 17. They'll stay in the top 25. I don't think they're moving anywhere. Uh, they may move up a couple spots. I doubt it, but they'll stay in. I mean, if you drop TCU and Clemson out of the race, they'll probably move up a couple. But I
See,
don't see them jumping anybody that's
and
ahead of them.
here's another thing about the rankings. If the rankings go about what I said, where Florida State will take the 5th spot and LSU drops to like Clemson's area or something, now everyone else shifts either down or up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you can't have Florida
Hmm.
State moves 5th, then LSU take Clemson's spot. Because where does that leave Clemson? Well, that's either Clemson not in the 25 or they take like TCU spot or something. Because TCU's not going to be ranked, so TCU's
No.
out. That pushes Iowa out. Someone else takes Tulane, maybe takes Iowa spot after that. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, now I'm trying to balance and see what's going on here for the rankings because it won't be because we all know it's not going to be the same after week 2 the
Oh no.
rankings.
No,
I
absolutely.
mean,
not.
that's literally common sense. Like, I don't even have to say that, but yeah, I think Florida State moves to LSU spot honestly, and Clemson just drops either to Clemson either drops to TCU or they're not ranked at all.
I don't
To
think
be
they need to
honest.
be.
I want to say they're probably within. I think they'll be within the 25.
Because that
to
pushes
20,
us up
maybe, if
one.
they stay in.
That pushes everyone else up one or down one, depending on how the rankings go.
So I mean, we look. Well, I mean, if you take the consideration, no one coming into the mix, then it just pushes down half of them down one. The rest of them.
Yeah, that's if no one new comes in. Because looking at
Yeah.
Clemson and LSU, I don't know who else lost. We know TCU lost. I think everyone else won their games, didn't they? Tulane won, Iowa won,
Well,
the
that's what
Texas A&M win.
That's what I'm gonna go through here.
South
Texas
Carolina
A&M.
did not.
Well, they're
No,
not ranked.
they're not ranked.
South Carolina isn't
So
ranked.
let's go. 23
No.
Texas A&M, 52 to 10. They're moving up. I think. I mean, that's a huge score.
Who'd they play?
difference. New Mexico, but
New Mexico.
52-10. That's
New
a big
Mexico.
score difference. They're going to change. They're going to go up. North Carolina beating South Carolina.
They'll
South
go up a
Carolina,
spot or two, I
yeah,
feel
South
like.
Carolina's not
I
ranked.
think, yeah.
They'll probably stay the same or move up maybe one. Then you got Oklahoma at 20, and they, if I'm not
Well, they
mistaken,
played Arkansas State, did they
yeah,
not?
they played old Butch Jones's. Um,
Okay, they dropped like what 83 on them.
yeah, it was 73-0.
Mm.
They'll probably
Oklahoma's
move up after that one. I mean, that's 73 points on a team that
That
didn't
is
even have a
crazy.
chance to do anything.
Butch Jones was actually crying after that game.
Which,
I think he.
rightly so.
I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
but I don't know. I don't know.
that's a tough loss right
Goodbye and good riddance, Butch Jones. I guess. I don't know.
there. That is a tough loss. That many.
I'm not even.
Phew.
I'd retire after that point. I mean, that's you can't
That's
recover. That's
awful.
on your record forever, dude. As a coach,
Oh yeah.
no one will ever forget the time that you coached Arkansas State and didn't even score a point. You didn't even get nothing.
That's
You didn't
rough.
get 2 points from a safety. You didn't even get a field goal for 3. You didn't even score a touchdown.
You know what that means is if and I didn't watch the game, but if Oklahoma
Oh man.
going into that second half, because let's look at the score here. So they went in the second half already up. Let's see, quite a bit. I mean, they probably had their third string in the third quarter. So they definitely in the fourth because they only scored 7 points in the fourth, and Arkansas State couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sad. I mean, Arkansas State, the quarterback went 12 for 26.
Oh my lord.
Only 148
bad.
yards. And then, of course, Oklahoma, they put on 19 for 22. So, I mean, 308
And
yards.
it's not that they didn't have time, with
No.
the time of possession. They went 23 minutes and Oklahoma went 36 minutes, so it's not that they didn't have a lot of time with the ball either. They just weren't making the proper plays.
They weren't making I mean, your quarterback JT Stroud didn't even. I mean, that's not a good completion rate. I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's rough, and that falls back on your head coach not getting them prepared for a game when your quarterback's just not completing the passes. I know a lot of that comes with skill, but you got to come in there and have your quarterback coach doing something with your quarterbacks, and that's just rough. That's a rough loss. Oklahoma will probably move up a couple spots because of that game, because their third and fourth string was in, probably the fifth string. Cheerleaders may have came in for that one. I don't know, but
Like, looking at the rankings right now, and I think I'm assuming this means that the points, because there's points next to the API, or the AP, sorry, not API, the AP rankings. I'm assuming that's like the points where they're at in terms of rank. So TCU is projected to lose 15 points of their 416. They will move down 1 spot. Now, I'm assuming that's before they played Colorado.
yeah,
I'm just assuming. But if they only get to 18th after losing to Colorado, there's a problem.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Oregon State's only projected to lose 1. They won't even move. Tennessee is supposed to lose 6. We're supposed to lose 6. We'd be 13th.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Again-
19th Wisconsin. They won their game 38-17. They may move up a spot, probably not. TCU, we discussed that. They're going to drop out. Kansas State 16. Did anybody watch that game? I don't even remember. I remember
Against
seeing
Southern
them on.
Southeast Missouri State. I didn't even think I had that game.
No.
I don't think we even covered that one when we was watching all the games.
No. Well, because this is like, like Kansas State's winning this game.
Well, okay, so they
dude.
won 45-0. It was
I mean, yeah.
pretty single-handedly.
No.
I mean, at this point, if you're in the top 25, your opener game, you're probably you're supposed to win. You're supposed to win. I mean, unless you play another ranked team, you're projected to win these games.
They do have a new head coach that signed an 8-year deal with a $44 million contract.
Yeah.
Now the next team, Oregon, they put
Yeah.
81 points on Portland State.
Yeah,
Now Portland
they
did
are.
did answer with seven or a touchdown and extra point, 7 points, but 81 points.
Mm.
It's not
That's
even a challenge
Mm.
at that point.
I mean
That's rookie mode.
Oregon has been good in the past.
Oh yeah,
They've had their law years, how do you say that word? Law years.
lol. Yeah,
Yeah, but they've been good in the past. They've had Heisman, quarterback.
no Mariota,
Yeah,
whatever.
so
That was 2013.
81 points. Are they that good?
Well, it's
Are we going to
Portland
see?
State that bad?
That's true. I mean, but 81 points. I
That's
mean,
the problem I have.
you got to assume they put in their second or third string in.
I mean, did they even play the game? Was Oregon just throwing the ball between themselves? Was Portland even at this game? Did some of the Oregon players have to dress up as Portland State players to play the game?
This is what's crazy, right? Okay, so Portland, their quarterback don't even have a picture for his logo or his
It doesn't even
profile or
have a
anything.
picture. That's crazy.
He went 5 for 14, 35 yards,
It's terrible.
35 yards, and had a touchdown out
Mm.
of that for somehow. That blows my mind. Now, Bo Nix, senior for the Ducks, comes out and throws 23 for 27, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns. That game is blows my mind that you can get 81 points versus a team. And like you said, is Portland that bad? Well, their stats show that they weren't great. So but then again, was Oregon's defense just that good? I mean, you don't know. So
And this is the thing about week one games because a lot of these openers are throwaway. And now, like, I mean, Portland State guys. I mean, I don't even know what's going on there with 81 man. But like, this is the thing with week one. Like, you can't say anything about really anyone due to the fact because it's the first game of the season, and that some things may not even be the same in week two. Like some people may change their play style up completely from week one to week two and be a totally different team
well, I mean,
that it seems
you
like, you know.
expect some. I mean, some teams maybe have freshman quarterback. Maybe they don't have someone new. They're trying out some different quarterbacks. Bo Nix has been in the game for a while. He's a senior. He's played the game. He knows how to
Mm.
play the game. They could be a contender for something. Will they go to the championship? Probably not, but they could probably do something this year.
It is interesting, and it's again the problem wasn't also time of possession. The time of possession was actually very evenly matched as well, with Portland being 28 minutes and Oregon being 31 minutes. So it's
I mean,
it's
that's a
not
3 minute
it.
difference, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 minutes. It's not necessarily the time of possession. It's just the plays
What they
being
doing,
made.
dude? What they were
Yeah,
doing.
I
what
mean, it just
plays were they
blows my mind.
making?
I mean, you can be
And I'm telling you, I
that many
think I know
points.
what it is. And I think I know what this is. There's this new era of play calling coming in. I've seen it with Tennessee during the Virginia game, LSU during FSU, this Clemson and Duke game, the Washington and Boise game, the North Carolina and South Carolina game. It's these screens and flat passes that these people are throwing, that they're calling. Now, some people may argue and debate that they're good calls or good plays. I'm sure when they are needed, they can be good. Obviously, that's common sense. Like you
Mm.
could throw a flats pass and he'd be wide open and get like 30, 40 yards. Throw a screenplay and the blocking is god tier and get like 40 yards off the reception run after catch. But like the problem with these passes is that they're short. They're barely above the line of scrimmage, and especially screens, you're throwing behind the line of
Yeah,
scrimmage. You're literally throwing to the left or the
Mm.
right of you and throw the flats. You can throw the flats anywhere between 5, 10, 20 yards in front of you. The flats really don't, whatever the case may be. Now, if you're throwing it like 40 yards, at that point, it's pretty much a vertical, dude. You're just running a vertical and throwing it to your receiver. But you can throw the out to the flats about 5 to 10 yards near the sideline, and that's it. And with zone coverage, those passes don't work. And I hate zone coverage. I don't like it, but a lot of zones cover the flats.
Yeah.
So if this team knows that you're running flats and screens passes, that zone coverage is not going to cut. Or sorry, those passes are not going to cut it. So
The zone's going to pick it up every time.
the zone will be there. The
Yeah.
person playing that
Yeah.
zone in the flat zone will be there. So that's the only time zone is really good if
So,
these people are throwing passes like that.
If
But
you're throwing those passes, you're hoping they're playing man, and your receiver
yes,
is going to be able to burn that, the defender on the ball.
yes,
So,
yeah.
I
And the
mean,
blocking has to be good for screens too and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Absolutely. But if they're playing 2-man coverage, you might as well not do it.
I mean,
They've got 2-man coverage coming in.
so like some of those games we can understand. Some of them scores are a little bit closer, but Oregon, that's crazy. So we talked a little bit about the Utah game. Uh, right off the bat, like I said earlier, Florida, they got some issues down there. They need to address quick. If he wants to keep his job, and I know he was dealt a bad hand, don't get me wrong, but you gotta figure it out. I mean, I know you're coming in the game, you're not ranked, you're going against a team that is ranked number
Oh.
14, but you got to represent the SEC. What happened?
I mean, let's not act like Utah's like necessarily bad because they were 10th in the nation last year at some point around the start of the season, I believe. They wasn't ranked. I think they lost to Florida last year when they were ranked 10th in the nation, and
Yeah.
then literally a week after that they wasn't even ranked. I think I'm looking at it right now. Let's see. Yeah, September 3rd, 2022 season last year. Florida only won by a field goal, essentially.
So they held up.
They held their own, and they
Yeah.
were 10th in the nation and lost. And then their next game after that was Southern Utah, and they wasn't even ranked, and they blew Southern Utah out of the water 73-7.
So
So it's not like Utah's bad, and they're ranked 14th this year, so they're pretty much almost back to where they began last season.
and
Yeah.
and Florida's got an easy game coming up. They play McNeese, and they should have no problem with them. And they've
Holy,
got a decent, schedule. It's not crazy, but they come out of McNeese, go right to Tennessee, or Tennessee comes to them, but that's going to be a hard game for them, especially if they haven't figured it
Yeah.
out after this Utah game, what they did wrong.
bro. I'm looking at the
And
Utah
it's not
game.
like they weren't bad. They won against Florida. They won against Kentucky last year. They won against South
It's only
Florida.
13 points. It's almost a two-score game, pretty much. Like, I'm looking at the stats right now. Florida dominated them in almost every category. I'm almost concerned how except for rushing yards. That's how Utah got them. Utah ran the ball all over them, I believe. I'm looking at the stats. Yeah, they only had one rushing touchdown, but they had a lot more rushing yards than them. But Florida on every other category, yards per play, passing yards, total yards, dominated Utah. But Utah, I guess they had the quick defense. Utah has their defense was quick. Let's see the time of possession. Cody's been bringing that up quite a bit. I mean, around the same.
Yeah, it's pretty even.
Around the same.
Yeah.
No,
Florida
only
had it a
no
little bit more.
interceptions from Utah.
No turnovers.
Penalties,
by
more
Utah.
Florida penalties. I bet that's what got them
That
too.
hurts you right there.
They had 9 penalties.
So there you go. That penalty wise, that goes back on the coach. Right
I mean,
there. You're
Utah
not
punted 6
setting-
times.
You're not setting up your team for victory if your team is constantly screwing up on stuff that should be normal football. I mean, it's not like they're doing trick plays or anything.
Yeah.
If you're not setting yourself up to keep yourself out of penalty zone, now, mind you, that's coming from Tennessee fan who was one of the most penalized teams last year.
We also had the
Yeah.
worst defense in the SEC last
Yeah.
year.
So, but you got to make sure your team is not screwing themselves up by getting penalized so much that you're going to lose a game that you really needed to win with from last year's setup. I mean, you watch some YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. There's this YouTube channel called SEC Shorts. They just made a video that dropped today talking about all the teams that are hyped up before their first games and stuff, and where they're ranked and everything, and the very last image or last little scene in that thing is shows Florida in the dark saying burn it down. It's a joke. They've become a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't sit there and say and be a Florida fan like, well, we're better than everyone else thinks we are this year, and then lose to Utah in your first game. Now, I'm not saying Utah
Yeah.
was an easy game for Florida fans or Florida team at all. By
No,
no means. I'm not saying
and
that.
they
I'm not trying to
were
discredit Florida fans, but you can't be doing that stuff.
they were projected to win by 5 points. So I mean, it was
Utah or Florida?
Utah was.
Florida? Utah. Okay.
So I mean,
Utah.
but it should have been a little bit better. I mean, Florida, you got to put the hurt. 11 points, just
I mean,
ain't
they
gonna
got
cut it.
ran all over. There was
Yeah.
no rushing
Yeah.
defense from Florida whatsoever. Now, the passing from Florida was phenomenal. I mean, 333 passing yards. I mean, that's pretty good. That's over 165 on Utah. Apparently, Utah's a running team more than what we've seen from. I'm not gonna say that because maybe the game plan was to run it down Florida the whole game. Because maybe they saw the holes and stuff in Florida's like practice footage or something. They put a good game plan together. Let's just say that, right? Like, or Utah did. But Utah really only 165 passing yards. I mean, they didn't throw the rock that much apparently. Let's look at the quarterback stats for Utah. What Bryson Barnes, 12 for 18, 159 yards and one passing touchdown. So they threw it around a little bit. Let's say that. Yeah, they threw it around a little bit. And looking at the rushing stats here from Nate Johnson, it doesn't look like they ran a lot, but 45 yards and 6 carries from Nate Johnson and 1 rushing touchdown. But I mean, the rushing yards this is what killed Florida, man. They had no run defense.
No,
There's no run defense whatsoever.
and not to try to drive too much longer on them. And we kind of need to hurry up with some of these, but still, I mean, Florida, you just need to turn it around. Maybe, and I hope you figure it out next game. You figure out what you did wrong with the penalties and stuff. Get your team. Maybe it was just nerves. I'm hoping it's just nerves. You had a
And
rocky
we're not taking
year
away
last
from
year.
Utah either. We're
No.
not taking anything from Utah. I know a lot of people was like, we have a friend. We had a friend we was talking about earlier, and we're gonna have to move. And like Dust said, we're gonna have to move on because we've talked too much about certain teams and stuff. But we had a friend in our little call or something earlier, and he was like, dude, they lost to Utah. Like Utah's not a ranked team, and like they're not quick on defense. Not like they're definitely something to be watched out for a little bit this year. But we'll see what Utah does later in the season. We'll see what Florida does. But the real challenge for Florida and the real challenge for Tennessee is the Florida and Tennessee game. But now we'll move on. But yeah, not taken away from either teams though.
No, absolutely
No.
not. So moving on, we'll try to kind of quick some of the or get some of these quicks. One of these we'll probably have to stay on a little bit longer than others, and we'll wrap that one up. We all know what we're going to talk about at the last part, so we'll skip that one for now. But Notre Dame, I think
They blew Navy out.
they blew Navy out, which
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, and that was my secondary team, just because I was in the Navy. We rooted for the Navy. Army Navy game, big game of the year. Navy doesn't have a big team. They're not allowed to have a big team. So when you play a team that you recruit bigger guys to be your defensive line and offensive line, you're going to get hurt. I mean, you're going to get hurt from the other team because they're just going to have bigger guys. But they're quick, they're fast. We knew that Notre Dame was going to win. Not a big surprise. Texas at number 11.
They played
spot.
Rice.
I mean,
Oh, real quick.
Go ahead.
I know what you're gonna say, but real quick, Texas. Okay, I don't know who it was, but we were watching Duke and Clemson game, and it was halftime show, and they're talking about the matchup between Texas and Alabama next
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes.
Whenever this comes out, I don't know. But during the Rice game, this announcer or commentator during the halftime show of that Clemson and Duke game was saying, "Look how much time this Texas QB has in the pocket. 1, 2," and he started counting up
5
to like 10 seconds,
yeah,
and I was like,
that.
"Dude, this is Rice. You're blocking literal children, bro. Like
It's a
is not
high school
Alabama,
team.
dude."
I mean, it might as well be a high school team.
Again, not taking anything away from Texas. Y'all played great. Sure, whatever. But how can you differentiate what's good and what's really bad and what's mediocre with a team like these throwaway games like Rice? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we want to see the competition. And the Texas and Alabama game, I think it's still going to be interesting. I still think it's going to be a good game. I hope. I want it to be a competitive game. But if Alabama comes out and blows that Texas out of the water, then like there goes Texas. I guess they're not in the discussion for anything ever again for the rest of the season. I
Well,
don't want to hear
Texas
anything about Texas
has
ever again.
well, Texas has something to prove. I mean, they're getting ready to come in the SEC. They're going to be
Yeah,
they're going
well,
to go up against teams like us anyways. They're going to come in. I think they're going to play strong. Don't get me wrong, but I think
I do
Alabama's
too.
got it in the bag, no problem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
And
uh,
mean,
of course, I
people are
mean,
still holding
Rice
on to
put
Nick
10
Saban,
points
dude.
on. So.
oh yeah, of course. But Nick Saban's what 73 years old. I mean,
I mean, he's also a winner. People are not going to turn away from that program. People going to college nowadays getting their scholarship grants to go play schools there or just going there in general, they know that he's a winner and that he can win games. It's not like he's not doing bad. No, this is Nick Saban,
but we don't
the
know how many.
most winning
Yeah.
coach in what college football.
Yeah, and we don't know how much longer he's got. He's 73 years old. How much longer is he going to be a coach?
A max 5 years, 5 6 years, maybe,
Maybe.
man.
Yeah, I don't know if
If
he's got
not,
that long.
retirement in the next 2.
Yeah,
And after
he's
Nick Saban's gone, I think the Alabama dynasty falls, man. I'm not gonna lie. I
possibility.
think Alabama dynasty falls. It will still be a contender in the SEC, I believe.
You're not going to
Actually,
get a Nick Saban again. That's just not. That's
no.
not going to
I
happen.
think it will be Nick Saban's like offensive coordinator or something will take the spot. I actually almost believe they'll do something like that. Like, hey, you're the offensive coordinator for Alabama. We'll get a new offensive coordinator, but hey, you be the head coach. You were under me. I'm the head coach, Nick Saban. You were under me. These people learned from Nick Saban. I almost believe that was almost what happened. They just moved the offensive coordinator or someone else
Yeah.
in the coaching staff to head coach that was under Nick Saban, or they just hire a new head coach. You never know, but I feel like something like that could happen.
But I mean, Nick Saban probably don't
Yeah.
have much longer. I mean,
Yeah.
he's getting up there in age, but not to discredit anything that he's done so far or getting
No,
ready to do.
great coach.
Yeah,
Great coach. Great
I
coach.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't like Alabama at all, but I gotta respect his coaching. He's an amazing coach.
But yeah, Texas and Rice, nothing that really crazy. Just
And then we
it's-
got Washington at number 10.
Washington and
against
I
Boise
watched
State.
that game a little bit, and I thought Boise State was gonna. I actually thought Boise State was gonna hold in there, but Washington eventually ran off with it. You know,
Yeah.
Um,
second quarter, 28-6. Yeah, that was.
And we don't
They
really
put a
need to
lot of
dwell on
them.
this game that
A lot
much.
of points
Boise
on
State
Yeah,
is
no.
Yeah.
only really famous for their cool looking fields.
The
So
blue field,
Yeah.
yeah. But I thought Boise was gonna hang in there at least.
yeah, and then
We don't need to
got-
talk about Clemson and
we already
Duke.
talked
So
about
yeah,
that. So Florida State, we talked about
Yeah.
that. Penn
West Virginia,
State,
Penn State.
Yeah.
Real quick,
38
let's see.
15. I mean, West Virginia's had some good years. It's not been their year for a little bit.
They still put 15 on them. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, hey, 15 on Penn
Against
State,
Penn
ranked
State.
7th in the nation,
Penn
top 10
State's-
team.
Has been a good team now for the past few years.
Yeah.
You expect them to come out strong. So
I mean, let's not act like Drew Aller or whatever his name is did not throw the rock this game at all. I mean, 325 yards, 20 to 29 pass completion, and 3 touchdowns. So I mean, receiving yards
it
is on
is what it
point. I
is.
mean, come on.
So-
Penn State was coming out, so we'll
yeah,
moving on to the next.
USC,
Yeah.
that's one of those big teams that have been talked about. Put 66 points.
Almost
on
too
Nevada,
much, to be honest.
But it's Nevada. I mean, again,
I thought it was San Jose. Oh wait, that is.
no, it was
Wait.
Nevada.
It was.
Yeah.
Was that, or have they already
was
played
some-
2 games?
Yeah, they played Nevada.
Because
They didn't.
right here it
that was their
says
first
San
game.
Jose, Nevada. Okay, sorry, I'm looking. Yeah, it was Nevada.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, they've played 2 games. They've played 2, so this is their second game already.
So okay.
Because they
so
played
yeah,
San Jose.
They 56,
August
28,
26th.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
this week
They
they
played
played
very
60. Or Nevada was 66-14. They put 2 throwaway games back to back. You kind of expect it to be this way. I mean, but
yeah. USC runs the board till Colorado. We'll see what Colorado does, but USC beats Colorado, I believe. There,
I think they run the board. I mean, Colorado's.
they
gonna
run
be
the
an interesting
board
game.
up until Notre Dame, Utah, Washington, and Oregon. Honestly,
Yeah. So I mean, we got to see what they do later in the schedule. I really don't see much big time games from them right off the bat. They've been talked about a lot from other commentators. It is what it is with them. I mean, we'll see. They got some easy
Yeah.
games. We'll see what they do when they get challenged. All right. So we talked about LSU.
Yeah,
All right, let's just knock these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alabama, Georgia.
Alabama. We
Georgia,
don't even need to
yeah.
talk about Alabama game. We already
Yeah,
knew what was gonna
okay.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
we
just
knew
do 1, 2, 3, real
Ohio
quick.
State. We'll go with
Sorry,
Ohio
Alabama
State
fans.
here. Yeah, Alabama. We knew you were going to win. I mean,
Alabama, like you're just a dynasty. Like you don't need any discussion. All right,
it
your
was 56 to
publicity's
7.
insane.
I mean, what's sad about that
Yeah.
game? I will say real quick. You let them score 7 points on you.
True, true.
Yeah.
Nick Saban
Yeah.
ain't too happy, man. You know.
should-
You're letting the Skyhawks get to you.
You should have never let that happen because that's all
Okay.
that's been talked about.
Ohio
that game.
State, Big Ten. We know the Big Ten is another conference that a lot of Big Ten fans are like. They run the SEC? They run the SEC. I actually think not. The Big Ten is an interesting conference, but yeah, Ohio State now, right?
Ohio
so
State. only put
Indiana.
23 points on
On Indiana. That was Indiana. Now Indiana did give trouble with Michigan last year. That was Michigan's toughest game besides the TCU game in the playoffs. Indiana may be worse something a little bit actually.
Maybe.
And that sounds crazy because Ohio State only getting 23 on Indiana.
Maybe
Wow.
the defense pretty decent, but I didn't watch that game, so I can't really
I
talk
can't say
about
much on it
too
either.
much.
Yeah.
But I will say they put 23 points on. It's not as impressive as you want to see as a start.
But very beatable. Yeah, very beatable
Very
looking at
beatable.
week 1. Just
Yeah.
week 1. I'm not saying that's forever throughout the regular whole season, but week 1 as far as like now, Michigan beats Ohio State from what I'm looking at right now this year
Yeah.
in their conference
Yeah.
conference and rivalry. So,
So I mean, their Ohio State's first big game really is Notre Dame, and I mean they just played Navy. Who knows what they're going to do?
and Ohio State like their schedule's a little interesting, you know. And I want to skim over it fairly quickly because we've been dwelling too much. Yeah, Notre Dame first really big game. Maryland, Purdue, whatever. Penn State, that will be a good
That'd be
game,
a
I
good
believe.
right there, yeah.
Wisconsin, I
Rutgers.
think Ohio State may take Wisconsin just because I don't know. Sorry, Wisconsin fans, I haven't really seen you play this season yet. I don't even know your stats. I don't know anything. I'm just assuming. Sorry.
21st on the board, 19th.
Rutgers, yeah, Rutgers, I think they take it. Michigan State, they're bad. They'll win Michigan State.
yeah.
Minnesota, they'll beat Minnesota. And I think they actually lose to Michigan if they're not careful throughout the season, but we'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we're not sure
there's that.
how Michigan will turn out, but if it's anything like last year, they'll win. But Michigan had an easy game also. ECU,
East Carolina.
I mean,
I will say I have a friend, or a cousin, I should say, who is a Michigan fan. He said that like in the third quarter they put their fourth strings in or something. So the score was what 30 to something.
30
He said he wished they would have scored. Yeah, he wished they would have scored more, but Jim Harbaugh was like, "Yeah, let's just throw the four strings in and let them get to play." So it would have been more, I believe, if they didn't put their literal four strings in the game.
And East
but-
Carolina didn't score until the fourth quarter, so
Yeah,
that was just a field
so
goal.
that's fair. Then you
Yeah.
know, so for everyone's like, "Damn, Michigan only put what 33 on East Carolina? They must be weak." No, the fourth string was in by like the third quarter. So and I mean, they didn't score like Dustin said till the fourth. So
yes, I mean it's
Yeah.
it's for a first game. If you don't want to run the score up like a lot of these teams did, it makes sense. I mean,
these
you
thorough
save your
games are
guys.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great to get.
73
Stats.
points.
You get
They're
your stats
great
up,
to-
yeah, show
They're
them.
great to get the backups play time.
Yeah.
Um,
Get
And,
a
and that's
little-
what he
get
the
did.
new
That's
guys
what
some
Michigan
feet in the
did in
water.
that game. And so
which
I
is
mean,
smart.
Yeah. So give them props.
No surprise they won though. So
No.
yeah, good props for Michigan.
So then Georgia comes out.
All right, now this is
so-
the one.
We need to talk about Georgia. Georgia.
Now they did 48-7 to be fair,
Yeah.
but go ahead, Dustin.
So
Go ahead. I know you had some quotes about Dustin or Georgia.
yeah,
Sorry.
about that. I have definitely have quarters about myself. So what do you?
Shut up. Shut up.
So
I'm
Georgia.
trying to speak quick because this has been going a long time.
Yeah. So Georgia plays UT Martin, a throwaway game, right? UT Martin
Yeah.
should have been just super easy, no problems. But UT Martin showed a little bit of defense. And it showed some weakness, especially in the first quarter from Georgia. A little bit in the second quarter. It wasn't until the second half did Georgia come out and start really
Yeah,
putting some
Georgia
points
lit
down
it
on
up.
them. But in the first
Yep.
half,
But
with UT Martin's small
But
defense
10
that they have,
0. 10-0 in the first half. Georgia only has 10 in the first half?
so well they had
Oof.
17 in the first half. So
Oh,
yeah,
are you
17 in the
sure?
first.
Oh, yeah, 17. Sorry, 17. I looked at the scores wrong.
But
Yeah, they scored 7 first quarter, 10
versus
second.
UT Martin, I mean, come on. They put a little defense up, and Georgia was struggling a little bit. So what does that tell me? Georgia is beatable if you have a decent a defense.
Just after week 1, looking just after week 1. But yeah, if they keep this awful offense or whatever, or just a opposing team has good defense, Georgia could be beat.
I'm not saying
Definitely could be beat.
that Beck didn't have a decent night. He had an okay night. It's 21 to 30, 21 4 31 throws, 294 one touchdown. So I mean he had an okay night, but the defense started showing a little bit, especially the first. UT Martin being a small school, they probably only had stamina really for the first to go against Georgia in the first half, anyways. Showed some weakness in the Georgia team, especially if you have a decent defense coming into a game. So some of these bigger teams, Alabama, with their defense I mean they've got 5 stars all over the field. That could really show some hurt on Georgia. Tennessee, I don't know if we can beat Georgia or not. Our defense showed up, and we'll talk about that in a second. We could put
Yep.
something on Georgia this year. So we'll see. Georgia
Possible.
showed some cracks in their wall. And that's what I'll say about them. Go
And
ahead.
then I have nothing to really say about Georgia's like 10 or 17-0 first half. Georgia. I mean,
Yeah.
You expect
whether
The
what
exact same
now, I
amount
don't
of
want to hear no
possession, by the
excuses
way.
from Georgia fans. You've won 2 titles in a row. About them dogs. I'm gonna be toxic right now. Actually, how about them dogs? How about them dogs? I don't want to hear it no more, dude. Really, 17-0 against UT Martin the first half? Y'all delusional. I'm sorry, y'all delusional. All right, you may be winning, you may be going to the title and playoffs. Y'all a good team, but don't act like you big and bad because you got 2 good titles and what 124 years, 124 years. You finally winning titles again, dude. Chill out.
They're going to come out.
Be proud.
They're going to come back
Be
and
proud.
say 48-7 was the final score. Sure, but the first
That's
half
fine.
with a fresh defense showed some cracks in their offense, and that's not good for Georgia. I mean, that means a fresh defense from a bigger school coming out can put some hurting on your team right off the get-go. So they're beatable. They are beatable.
And
they're not football
I'm not
gods.
saying that these Georgia fans or program can't be happy about them literally being a championship contender team. No, dude, be happy, celebrate. Fine, that's cool. And I know I was being a little toxic or whatever, but no, I'm just be happy. Yes, I want you guys to be happy. Who wouldn't be happy that your team is literally grabbing titles out of thin air, pretty much? I mean, y'all are dominating. I have to give you your
Last year,
roses.
they really
I have to
did.
give you where credit is due. You've been building for the last 4-ish years. You've been building up a team for the last 4 years. Y'all have done good. But to sit here and think that the Nick Saban dynasty is over and no one else is coming for your crown, dude, that's crazy. That's
They got a
crazy.
target on their back this year, and with what I saw,
And I think Michigan might be able to do it. I'm just gonna say it. If Michigan plays wicked this year and Georgia don't fix some stuff, Michigan's coming for that crown, boy. I'm just saying. If Michigan makes it the title and they play Georgia, you're gonna have a rough game.
it's going to be interesting. This year they have a target on their back. They showed some weakness. If they don't fix that weakness, they're going to have a hard time this year. That's
Like
all
I
I'm
said, it's
saying.
not like Georgia's not a dynasty now or nothing. Have fun, be good, but I'm tired of going to these social media posts or whatever, and Georgia fans coming to the posts of the Tennessee and Virginia. It's Virginia. Okay, it was 17-0 in the first half, Georgia. It should have been like 42-0 in the first half. What are you talking about?
Especially what they did to TCU
Apparently,
last year.
like, come on, guys, Georgia fans. I don't want to be corrupt as you. If Tennessee becomes a championship contender, I really hope our fan base does not become like y'all after winning championships because it's sad. I'm actually starting to dislike Georgia fans, the delusional ones at most, not all of them, the ones that make a bad name for Georgia fans. I'm starting to dislike them more over Florida fans, and that is saying something. Because it's just a traditional rivalry. That's why there's opposition or conflict between Tennessee and Florida fans. It's just a nice traditional rivalry and whatever. And this is the history we have. But Georgia, please, come on, guys, you can do better than that.
I mean, you expect the
I'm
number
not
one
acting like
team
we're
in the
better
nation.
either or nothing. That's all
You
I'm saying.
expect the number
Not
one team in the nation to put up a little bit more of a fight the first half, and they just didn't. So they're definitely beatable this year. We'll see if they fix those cracks coming up in the next few games, preparing them for
and
the
I'm not
gauntlet
saying
they've
we're
got.
better. I'm not saying
No,
we're better.
I'm not saying
But
Tennessee's going
I'm
to
just
win this
saying
year against Georgia. I'm just saying Georgia
we are
is
lovers of college
beatable.
football. We're just talking.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
Yeah.
We're just speaking our opinions. I'm just saying, Georgia, quit being
Yeah.
delusional. You have a dynasty
Yeah.
right now. You're on top. You're beating Nick Saban's program that barely anyone has been able to do. You're doing great. You're doing great. Just
And we
chill
understand that
out.
Stetson Bennett is gone, but I mean Carson Beck looks pretty solid. I mean for your new starter quarterback. But even so, I mean, come on, just calm down, get ahead of your
Show
get some
show
ground
some
going.
poise, but
Yeah,
realize what you showed that first game is that you are beatable. You have issues that can be dominated on if you do not fix them
And
by
And
bigger
knowing your
teams.
program, by week 2, you will be a completely different team. So, see there, I'm giving you credit where credit is due. I am willing to guarantee that by week 2, this Georgia that we saw play UT Martin will be a completely different Georgia game or team entirely because that will not it cannot slide. It will not be able to slide, and the Georgia football coaching staff knows that. So, Georgia, good job on building a dynasty. Coaching staff, good job on building a dynasty. There's no hate or malice, really, like with me against Georgia whatsoever. I'm speaking directly towards the delusional Georgia fans
I,
that
I
are
can't
just annoying.
when we get to the Tennessee talk, I can't say that because I'll bring up something here in a second. But I will say Georgia, there's blood in the water, and people are smelling it. So be prepared. So let's
And
move
now
on.
I guess sectioning to the last talk. Yeah,
The
the
last
last.
talk, because we are Tennessee
yeah.
fans, we'll save it for the last. And if you're
And
still
plus, it
stuck
wasn't
around
all
for
that
this,
crazy of a game. Everyone tuned off of it when Colorado was slamming TCU.
yeah,
So, to be fair, reasonable enough. To be
yeah.
fair, there wasn't
Yeah.
much going on in the Virginia game. But anyway, you can take it off, Dustin, with what you want to say
So
about Tennessee,
so
Virginia.
Tennessee, I've lived through some rough years with Tennessee. I mean, I was there for the last championship. I remember it. The good years that we were an actual powerhouse team. And since then, I've suffered and I suffered and I suffered through some bad years. Some really, really bad years of Tennessee football. And I've hung with them. But I have that in the back of my head. And a lot of Tennessee fans do. We all have that feeling in the back of our head is, oh, it's Tennessee. We're going to do the Tennessee thing and mess this up. And last year, we did do that with South Carolina. But we had a pretty good year. I mean, the best year we've had in a long time. For 1 week, we were ranked number one in the nation, and that hasn't happened in a long time for us to be ranked number one. There for a few years, we weren't ranked at all. We were pretty far down there. So last year was this killer. So I still have that in the back of my mind. I was a huge Hendon Hooker fan. Hated to see him get hurt. I think they did him dirty at the draft, where he got drafted and who he got drafted behind was just a little bit sickening. I mean, because the kid's got talent. The where did he go? He went to
What, Hendon Hooker went to Detroit, I believe.
yeah, he went to Detroit. They knew they got a huge steal. They're talking. I mean, he's not even playing yet. He's not able. He's not being clear. But they already talking about how coachable he is and how well he's doing with the playbook and stuff. This kid's going to be something to be reckoned with in the NFL. They did him dirty in the draft, and it's because although we have been bad for so many years, everybody disrespects Tennessee. And that's why I said earlier that I'm holding off the saying there's no malice or no hate with all the other SEC teams, is because what did every other SEC team do last year? They dogged on us all year long. Every game we went up against. When we beat Alabama, yeah, we rushed the field. It was the first time we had beat Alabama in so many years. It was, like you said earlier, like a championship game for us. It was like we won the championship after so many years. We finally got to beat Alabama. It was the best thing ever that happened in Tennessee, and it happened in Tennessee. So yeah, we're going to be excited. And we played crazy last year. Hendon Hooker was should have been the Heisman winner. He was crazy talented. Should have played the year before that, in my opinion. So we come in, we came off of a pretty good year. We destroyed Clemson in the Orange Bowl. We should have been ranked higher in this, delusional AP polling that they did for the game. I get it. It doesn't mean anything yet, but still, this was disrespect again. Putting Clemson 3 spots ahead of Tennessee at 12 and Clemson at 9, that's disrespect. Straight off the board. We beat LSU, we beat Clemson, and you put us down because we had a bad game against South Carolina. And there was some bad things happening in our locker room at that time. There was some fights. That's why we lost that game. Banks got into a fight, I'll say allegedly, with Hendon Hooker, from what the gossip was, and that's why Banks couldn't go on that trip. And there was some animosity between some of the players on the team. Hendon Hooker got hurt in that game. He tore his was it ACL that he tore in that game. I mean, the
Yeah.
kid got hurt, in that game and almost ruined his chances to even play ever again. So they disrespect us so much that they put us 3 spots behind a team that we destroyed with the same team that we have right now. So moving forward to this game, I'm still a Tennessee fan. I've still got that bad taste in the back of my mouth because one, we're getting disrespected everywhere we go. No matter how good we do, we still get disrespected. We come in this game, I'm a little iffy with Milton because don't get me wrong, the kid's got a cannon for an arm. Could possibly throw it 90 plus yards down the field. But in the past years, his accuracy has been bad. It's not been great. Yes, he's made some awesome completions, but when it comes to it, when the game's on the line, the kid has choked multiple times. So I have been weary of Milton. I'm not been a huge fan of him because I just don't know if he's got what it takes when the game's on the line and you need him to do what he's supposed to do. Is he going to complete the complete the goal? And he just has not proved it. And I don't think he really proved it with this game that we had this week. I mean, we seen him when last year we had multiple fourth down conversions. When you gave the ball to Hendon Hooker and you wanted that first down, you're out on fourth, and even if you're on their side of the field, you give the ball to Hendon Hooker. What did he do? He was going to give you that first down conversion. The kid had talent. We did not see that from Milton this game. They tried the same play, fourth down. We're on their side of the field. They give the ball to Milton, say, "Hey, go out there and get me a first down out of this," and he couldn't do it. We seen him miss multiple passes over at people's heads. Short passes, mind you, not long passes down the field where you know you might be not great or not very accurate. Short passes, these screens, these flats that you were talking about earlier, he missed those passes and caused us to go 3 and out a couple of times. It's not. I mean, it could be Russ, but I'm saying he's got a lot to prove with a lot of Tennessee fans. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that because when Nico finally came in, the big 5 star that we just got, this freshman, they were chanting Nico's name in the stadium. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that Milton has got some issues. Yeah, he's got a cannon. Yeah, he's a stout guy. But does he have what it takes when the game's on the line and we need him to show up? He's not going to be running out of the bounds like he did at Ole Miss last year with no seconds left on the clock just to lose the game for us. Is he going to be that guy, or is he going to be a Hendon Hooker that we need him to be and get us that first down or put us in the end zone where we need to be? I don't know if he's got it or not.
And
I think
that's the
if he
problem.
just calms down, I think if he calms down focuses on where he wants to throw the ball and who he's passing it to.
We have the
I think he
receivers.
could be good. I think he could be good.
Okay,
I think he's got
for
the
the first
potential.
time in a long time, Tennessee has actually built depth. We have Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Dylan Sampson, right, as halfbacks. God tier halfbacks for
Oh,
us. God
absolutely.
tier.
Mm.
Our wides are set. We have Ramel Keaton, Brew McCoy, which I actually
Squirrel
thought we
White,
lost.
which
Squirrel White.
unfortunately
I mean, our
is
wides are set. Our tight ends, they're set. They're pretty set. We have Joe Milton again, like Dustin literally went on a whole tangent with. I'm not saying he's completely garbage or terrible, but that's why Michigan got rid of him. And I'm not trying to dog on no, Joe Milton fans or anything, but he left Michigan. I wouldn't say they got rid of him, but he left Michigan because he was all arm at Michigan. He was just all arm. And he has some good accuracy moments. Now, there was one downfield shot he threw to Ramel Keaton that was straight in Ramel Keaton's hands, and Ramel Keaton just did not catch it.
Yeah, it wasn't his
Now,
fault.
that
No,
needs to
wasn't
be
his
cleared
fault.
up. No, that wasn't his fault. That needs to stop. The playing calling on offense needs to get better. I said this. Me and Dustin here were watching the game a little bit in our Discord together, and we were watching it. Our defense had single-handedly carried the football game. And
Oh,
that sounds
absolutely.
crazy to say if you're a Tennessee fan. Our defense is good, but like everyone's like, it's Virginia. Like, no, I'm serious. Our offense was not doing great. Our defense showed up to play that game
Our defense was the worst in the
in the
SEC
SEC last season.
last year.
So whatever Josh Heupel did or the defensive coordinator did on the offseason after last season, I am extremely impressed, and I am happy to have the defense we saw in week 1 because we need that for the rest of the season. If we play like that for the rest of the season, we give Alabama a run for the money, and I even believe we give Georgia a run for their money. And that sounds delusional. After all this I just said, y'all are still some dynasty teams. Georgia and Alabama are still dynasty. I'm not saying we're going to win. I would like to think that and like to say that. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying if we play our defense like we did against Virginia, and I know it's Virginia, bro. It's Virginia. Shut up. If our defense played that good and we play the same good defense against Alabama and Georgia, y'all are having a tough time. It will have to be a shootout game, and that's where that's where we differentiate. Can Joe Milton compete in a shootout game against someone like Jalen Milroe of Alabama and Georgia's quarterback? I don't remember his name.
Carson Beck.
Carson Beck. Thank you. Then that's a shootout game. We have the receivers that we've lost some talent. We lost Hendon Hooker. We lost Jalen Hyatt. That's generational talent. We don't have that. We don't have Jalen Hyatt that can run down the field, absolute monster of speed,
Yeah.
and get the ball thrown to
Blitzkrieg
him.
Trophy winner.
Yeah, exactly. Blitnikoff Trophy winner. I mean, he was insane. So the problem with our team is that our offense play calls is questionable. Joe Milton is still questionable. We've gave him time and time again. He played fine during the Clemson game. I mean,
Yeah.
during the Clemson game, Orange Bowl, there was no problems. I was like, dude, is this Joe Milton? Because this is crazy. And then he comes out against Virginia and he showed no progress. I'm sorry. He didn't play bad. And I've watched other people's content on YouTube talking about briefly going over the Virginia game. Why y'all complaining? You still won. That's not the point.
That is not
The point
at
is
all.
we have a starter QB that has a cannon of an arm. Imagine how much more better he could be if it was accurate almost 100% of the time. Our wides are open down deep all the time.
Be a Tom
Bombs
Brady.
all the time. Accurate all the time. It would be not even close. It wouldn't even be a game. Our rushing yards, or sorry, our rushing game is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, we can run the ball.
We
need to
did.
get passing the ball.
We did.
Oh, yeah, we had to
very
run the
good
ball.
running the last game. I mean, against Virginia, we did.
Yeah, the
really
run
good.
was
Jabari Smalls
crazy,
was very
passing
good.
was weak, and defense was busted. That's the summary of the Tennessee-Virginia game.
Yeah.
Now, I hate that. Well, it's not that I hate. I know that probably every time we do this, Tennessee will be last to talked about or whatever, just because we want to talk about everyone else first. But it's not that we're trying to be biased or giving Tennessee the more light, because there's not really much to talk about this game. But our defense was busted, our running game was crazy, and the passing was shaky. It just was not good. The playing calling was not good on offense, and we just had to run the ball. But like Tennessee has some things, and I believe in week 2 they will be better. I just don't think that Josh Heupel will stand for it. He even admitted that Just no, it was too shaky for the offense. He said defense, I'm happy with it. I'm happy too. For a Tennessee fan, if you watched that Virginia game, which obviously you did, or if you could, maybe you didn't have time to or something, but if you watched the highlights or that game in general and saw that defense, you better be happy because
Oh
to
yeah.
say Tennessee defense is good for once in your lifetime is a statement I never thought I'd hear myself say. I said that during the Clemson Orange Bowl game. I was like, dude, where was this at all year? I was like, where was this at all year? And we showed up there in the Clemson Orange Bowl game and literally, without a doubt, beat Clemson. It wasn't even close. A lot of people was like, oh, that's debatable. No, it wasn't. It actually was not close of a game.
No, not at
But
all.
but
And
Virginia, sorry, go ahead,
no,
Dustin. Actually,
and what's crazy about this is Joe Milton is a beast. Don't get me wrong. He had a
he's
massive
he's
stiff
great.
arm for a touchdown. I mean, it was, or what was it, a touchdown that he got that?
No, it was thinking a first down, but
Oh,
he
first down.
just
It was
pretty much
close, yeah.
walked right into a guy.
Yeah, he stiff armed that dude. I mean, it was sick. But the kid needs to calm down, like Cody said. He needs to get in the pocket, keep his head on a swivel, and do what a quarterback does. Is not focus on who. Sometimes you're supposed to throw, but who's open. I mean, when you got a guy going down the field wide open, and you're looking at the guy that you're supposed to throw it to, that's covered by two people, you don't got your head on your swivel. You're not the quarterback that Hendon Hooker was. Not the quarterback that Hendon Hooker said you should be. I mean, Hendon Hooker gave this kid props. They were roommates, and
Yeah.
I don't know if he's picked it up. I don't know if he's picked up what he's supposed to in the off season.
And
I just don't know where he's at.
and guys, do not underestimate. I'm sorry, I hate this. This is why college football fans can also be delusional. Like any fans, every fan base can be delusional. But Virginia, obviously, we were winning that game. Everyone knew that. Everyone knew that
Now
Tennessee was
put
going to
this
win
in
that game.
perspective. Virginia had 10 more minutes of time of possession than us.
Exactly. We were defense all the time. That's a great point Cody brings up. Our backs were against the wall on defense almost the entire game. And our defense showed up. Do not underestimate teams like Virginia. Yes, that's what I'm seeing in these comments of these Instagram posts or YouTube highlight reel. Georgia fans, how about them dogs? It was Virginia. It was Virginia. No, stop underestimating these teams. We just watched Colorado beat TCU. We just watched Duke beat Clemson. If these teams are as good as these people say they are, why are they getting shut out by teams that are not even ranked? Stop underestimating these teams. Virginia is not an awful football program.
No,
Guys, they're not awful.
mind
Are
you,
they
they're
the
still-
greatest? No.
They're still
They have
ACC
talent.
Team. They're an ACC team.
Yes, they are an
That's
ACC
a
conference
good
team.
Conference. And you don't take some of these teams. I mean, Virginia by far, not to try to compare, but let's look back. Maybe I don't know how many years ago, we'll say quite a bit of years ago. Appy State, they travel up to Michigan. Never supposed to even be a contender. Beats Michigan at Michigan. Appy State. You don't put teams like that and say, well, it was just Appy State. Appy State came up there and proved something to Michigan. I was there in Boone that night when they won that game. That town erupted because they were never supposed to win that game. You don't.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
You don't underestimate these teams no more. Now, this year, the last couple years of college football has been weird, guys. That's for everyone. I think everyone can agree that college football has been kind of odd. There's been teams who's been coming out of nowhere. Now, upset games happen in every year. It's nothing different. But it's happening more now than it has ever happened in the last couple of years. Like, it's crazy. Like, Tennessee becoming more of a power dynamic, I never thought would happen. Josh Heupel has sort of turned the program around, right? And this is what, his third year? I've already forgot.
This is third
I think
year.
it's his
Third year.
yeah.
Third year.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is right.
third
Because
year.
last year he did all right, and this year he did even better. So like, stop underestimating these teams. For you, Georgia fans, it may be just Virginia, go Dogs. But like, no, stop underestimating. We still won. We still blew them out of the water. It's not like Tennessee did not eventually kick it into high gear and start scoring points. Don't get me wrong. It just took us a little bit longer to get there. And you guys can't say anything either, Georgia. It wasn't until the last half that you started kicking the burners on too. So stop that. How about them dogs? It was just Virginia nonsense. And pull your stuff together too. Because from what Dustin and Cody and what everyone else seen in the nation, I mean, being held 17-0 against UT Martin is nothing to scoff at if you're a Georgia fan. I would not be too pleased if I was a Georgia fan. Now,
No.
having the win is pretty cool. Yeah, you turned the Burners up and you should be proud you knocked them out. But no, really? The half? It should have been at least 35-42 at the end of the half, dude, if Georgia was that busted. But no.
And
No,
with
you
that-
didn't score no 81-3, 76 or whatever to 0. You didn't do that. These are teams that are not like you, Georgia, and you're not even doing that to UT Martin. But yeah, how about them dogs? It's just Virginia. Tennessee sucks. Yeah, okay.
And with what happened
Sorry, I'm being
last year-
toxic, but
well,
whatever.
With what happened last year, I used to be the guy. Hey, it's SEC versus everybody else. We're the best conference in the nation. You know,
Without a doubt. I'm actually saying it without a doubt.
but
Best conference.
I'm at the point now with what happened last year with all the other toxic fans that are out there. Don't get me wrong, Tennessee can be toxic sometimes. Don't get me wrong, but the way that every other team was so toxic to Tennessee and Tennessee fans, I'm no longer picking an SEC team over another team. I'm sorry, Georgia. Hey, whoever you play, I'm probably gonna pull for that other team. Alabama, whoever you play, I'm probably gonna pull for that team. Florida, whoever you play, I'm gonna pull for that other team. You know why? Because that's the way y'all treated us last year. It didn't matter who we played. You always had something nasty to say about the team that we played. You always had a little snide remark about who we played and what we did. You, when's the last time any of y'all beat Alabama? I'm sorry, Georgia. I know you beat them, but who? What about the rest of you? It's been a while, hadn't it? Yeah. So was
I mean, Ole Miss beat them like how many years ago? Like 2015, 14 or something? Ole Miss finally did that. They ain't done it since. When's the last time Ole Miss beat Alabama?
So I mean, it's
Lane
been a while.
Kiffin? Huh?
So when we come out there and beat Alabama, we treat it like it's the national championship. Of course, we're going to. It's been a
It was
while.
their first time since 2006, guys.
Yeah.
This meant more to us than a national title. But we also erupted like that, not only, and I'm pretty sure I said this before, so it's a deja vu moment for me. Excuse me, I had burped just now. But I don't know if you heard that. Don't worry
Nope,
about it.
but you just told
But-
everybody you did.
Yeah, I did. So now you know if you don't know. We haven't beat Alabama since 2006, but also that was the year we actually thought we had a big chance in the playoffs, and we did. We were guaranteed a spot in if we didn't lose to South Carolina. Losing to Georgia was going to be our only loss of the season. So beating Alabama, knowing that we're going to steamroll everyone else, but maybe not Georgia, of course we stormed the field. Not only because we beat Alabama, has been done since 2006. We are a playoff contender team that season. Without a doubt, we are. Even still, I'm still saying that we were a playoff contender team and we deserve to be in the playoffs. Alabama was not getting in.
Nope.
They were not getting into the playoffs before we lost to South Carolina. Alabama, by the grace of God himself, let them in another year. But that's okay. Wait till next year when the new playoff program comes in and you'll see us in there next time. And we'll see what happens. And I'm not trying to get
Yeah.
too big for my britches or nothing. But, you know, like new program, 2 new teams in the SEC. Let's see what happens. You know,
I would like to add before we
Go ahead.
before we
I want to hear your
um,
thoughts on stuff too. You've not said too
I
much.
would like to add one thing. I've been looking around, and I would like to pull up a thing. This is a roster, or this is what they say the college football power rankings will be after week 1, and this is just potential. Okay, so in number 1 we've got Georgia, obviously.
Mhm.
Okay,
True.
number 2, surprisingly, we have Florida State.
Okay,
Now, I
that
don't
don't,
know
that don't, that don't really
Yeah.
surprise me though.
Now it's interesting, of course. Number 3 we have Michigan, of course. Number 4 is Alabama. Number 5 is USC,
Okay.
which is interesting as well. Number 6 we have Ohio, Ohio State,
State.
of course. Number 7 we have Penn
Fair.
State. Number 7 we have Penn
So
State.
they've not moved. Okay,
Yeah.
so they haven't
course.
moved.
Number 8 we have Washington, right?
They moved 2 spots. Okay,
Of course.
interesting.
Number 9 we have Tennessee. Okay.
So they moved
There
to
we
the
go.
closest
Now that's
spot.
better. That's
Um,
better.
Number 10 we have Utah. Okay. Which
Fair.
is interesting. Number
Fair.
11 we have Texas.
No,
Number 12 we have Oregon.
but fair. Okay. yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Number
well, they made
13
that
we have
big
Notre
score.
Dame.
Notre Dame hasn't moved. All right, Notre Dame hasn't moved. Wait, what team?
Uh,
What number?
13.
Number
Okay, so they
13,
haven't
13.
moved. All right, they haven't moved.
Number 14 we have North Carolina.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
That's in. Yeah, that I can get behind that. Yeah, they
Yeah.
beat South Carolina, so yeah, sure.
Number
team.
15 we have Oregon.
What?
Okay.
What? Wait, I thought you said Oregon
Wait, I
was
thought
number
Oregon already-
15.
Wait, no.
No.
I thought you said Oregon was 13.
Number 15. No,
No, he's
13 was
Notre-
Notre Dame.
So
Oh.
Oregon hasn't moved either. All right, cool.
Number 16, we have Kansas State.
They haven't moved either. All right,
Number 17, we have LSU.
fair. That's fair. That's
Okay.
fair. I figured they would be. If it wasn't LSU, it was Clemson. I kind of figured around there.
No. Number 18, we have Ole Miss. Okay.
Okay.
Number
That's Oregon
19,
State.
surprisingly, we have Duke.
No shot.
Number 19, we have Duke.
That's fair if that actually happens.
Number 20, we have Oklahoma.
They haven't moved. All right. Yeah.
Number 21, we have Colorado.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Yeah. Number 22, we have Texas A&M.
Okay, they moved the spot up. They were 23.
23, we have Wisconsin.
Ew,
Number
they
24,
moved from
we have
19 to 20.
Tulane.
Okay, they haven't moved. And Iowa's 25, maybe?
And number 25, unfortunately, we have Clemson.
No
so it
shot.
pushed out Iowa out, and Clemson's still in the top 25 barely.
Yeah, and this is from ESPN. So this is the
This
ESPN.
is their.
So this is their
prediction.
projected rankings probably
Yeah,
tomorrow
this is
or
their-
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Probably tomorrow.
And this was made at on September 5th, 12 a.m.
Okay, so this, yeah, they've
This
been
was
on the
made
work for
bef-
this. Okay.
Yeah, they've been putting this in. So
I'll take number 9 spot. That works for me for Tennessee. Go through that one more time. We'll do it one more time.
all right, one more time.
Do yeah, do it one more time.
So, and number 1, of
Georgia.
course,
Yep.
Georgia. Number 2, we have Florida State. Okay.
That's 6 whole spots.
yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, we have Michigan.
Fair.
Number 4, Alabama.
Like that.
Number 5, USC. Number
Sure.
6, Ohio State.
Fair enough.
Number 7, Penn State.
Good.
Number 8, Washington.
Fair enough.
Number 9, Tennessee.
Yes.
Number 10, Utah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's your top 10. Okay. Number 11, we have Texas.
They haven't moved
Number
either. All right.
12, we have Oregon.
That's what
number
you said,
thir-
and then you just said they were 15th.
Yeah.
So
no,
12th,
15 with
they're.
Oregon State. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Oh,
Oregon
okay.
State
I
was
was
number
like,
15.
that's why I
Yeah,
wanted you to
sorry.
go over it
I didn't
again.
I didn't see the state. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, number 12 is Oregon. Number
Okay, Oregon
13 is,
Ducks.
yeah, Oregon Ducks. Oregon Ducks. I'll say the whole thing now. Number 13, we have Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Number 14, we have the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Like there's another Notre Dame out there.
We have number 15, Oregon State Beavers.
yeah.
Okay. Number 16, we have Kansas State.
Mhm.
Number 17, we have LSU.
That's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Number 18, we have Ole Miss. Number 19, we have Duke, which is interesting.
That's
Very
crazy. They're
interesting.
over Colorado, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Number 20, we have Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, they haven't moved.
Number 21, we have Colorado. Okay.
Okay.
Which is,
Yeah,
which is nice. Number 22, we have Texas A&M.
they moved a spot up.
Number-
Yeah,
Number 23, we have Wisconsin.
they moved from 19 to 23.
Number 24, we have Tulane.
Same spot.
And
25.
number 25, Clemson. Yeah.
Wow.
And that is what ESPN is projected
projected.
rankings
Yeah.
are.
I would say some of those are fair. I would say Clemson don't deserve to be in the top 25.
Yeah.
So,
but
You've got a very interesting lineup for sure.
I will agree with you, Dustin, to an extent. But to be honest, I think it's a good play. It's probably better for Clemson to be there than Iowa. Let's just be
Yeah,
real.
maybe, but.
But yeah, I agree with you to an
An
extent.
Iowa that just won versus a Clemson that just lost to somebody that should never beat them. So
Yeah. But we do see Duke, obviously, which is very interesting,
Colorado.
in the number 19 spot, and we have Colorado in the number 21 spot. So, where that will lead after Colorado's game with Nebraska, which I mean, I'd like to say Colorado will probably pull it out. Um,
Oh, with
beyond,
Nebraska's program, yeah. Sorry, Nebraska
yeah.
fans.
And Duke, of course, has Lafayette or
Yeah,
Lafayette. I don't know
Lafayette.
how to
Yeah.
say Lafayette. So I'm sure they'll probably also do good with Riley Leonard there. Very good, very talented quarterback. And yeah, we've got interesting. Clemson Tigers, of course, they'll play Charleston next. So
They'll win
you
against
know,
them.
yeah.
So
But
we're coming up on our long. This is a long episode, but we had a lot to talk about in this episode with the rankings and the games that are going on. Our next episodes we have will probably be a lot shorter because we can get through them a lot quicker. But we were
yeah,
just so thrown off about the rankings and
And week one entirely, how it just played out.
Yeah.
So this is,
absolutely.
I wouldn't say it's a little late. I won't say this is a little late because week one week two for some teams, but week one for pretty much the whole just now ended. I mean, it's just a day after. I don't know when Dustin will put this up as an episode. I don't know how fast he'll get it up. But
hopefully
I'm sure when the rankings come out, we may talk again. That's up to,
Yeah.
Dustin about
Yeah,
just
we
quickly,
probably
a
can
quick
throw-
episode discussing it maybe. And then we'll probably won't talk again to what next week.
next week.
We'll probably do a preview next week talking about the games. Right? We'll probably do a
Yeah,
preview
yeah.
if Dustin wants to do that. We'll probably do a preview talk about the matchups of next week, what we expect and what's
Yep.
probably going to happen. But yeah, take it away, Dustin, on your
So yeah, we'll get
The
to
outro.
try to get this up there quick for everybody that wants to listen to this, and we'll get hopefully when the rankings come out, probably in the next day or two, we may do a quick short. It may be
probably
just,
not longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah, it may be just say the ESPN poll was right. Do these people deserve these spots? Yes or no. And then maybe later in the week we'll do a preview of what the week holds. We probably won't go anything after 25, the top 25, because really, you guys, we're looking all at the championship and how we get there. Now that does mean, do we still talk about Tennessee if they drop out for some reason? Ugh, that's a rough one because we are Tennessee fans. So
If there is an unranked team that is playing like obviously a top 25 team, or there's another unranked team that shows promise that just you cannot escape, you
Yeah.
have to talk about, then
Like
we'll talk about it. But we're not
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
Indiana versus like a nobody. Like we're not gonna do that. Like we're not gonna talk about ETSU
Yeah.
versus Jack State and then they lose the game. Like we're not gonna talk
yeah,
about
we're
games
definitely
like that.
not going to talk about Jack State owning ETSU.
Just big names because that's everyone follows those. So yeah, that's
Yeah, we'll stay within the AP polls.
Yeah, never mention
We'll stay with
ETSU playing Jack State again. We'll never mention that.
yeah. We'll never talk about ETSU again on this
No,
on this
just
channel.
forget about HSU even existing.
Yeah, that they don't even. Yeah, just don't worry about it.
Oh, Lord of mercy. All right, so this is concludes our first episode. It's football time in college football. So we'll catch you on the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this 2-hour long, in-depth college football rankings. Look at what's going
And-
on in college football.
And just week one recap pretty much as
Yeah,
well. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
So we'll catch you next time.
What to expect for next week?
And it's for everybody out there. I'm Dustin.
I'm Jaden.
And I'm Cody.
We'll catch you next time.
See you.